Hello, everybody. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Welcome to Live It Up, the show where we explore and discuss how to take your life to that next level and beyond. We cover health, wealth, relationships, and how to create a life that really feels good, because after all, that's what we really want, right?
It's true.
We want to feel good. I'm your host and coach, Fletcher Ellingson, and I'm delighted to have over here my much better half, Amy. Hey there.
Hi.
How you doing?
Good, good.
Hey, we're talking about some health stuff later on in the show.
Mm-hmm.
What exactly are we talking about?
We're talking about like wellness testing or preventive medicine.
Wellness testing and preventative medicine.
Yeah.
All right. We will get to that soon. So stick around, because as you know, health is the first wealth. All right. But before we get to that, I want to remind you that if you have questions you would like us to answer on or off the air, please email them directly to me at fletcher@fletcherellingson.com. And you can also visit my website. There's all sorts of free resources there. Take the happiness quiz. You can download my ebook. Lots of good stuff. The bottom line is there's solutions out there. You don't need to suffer. There are answers and solutions and ways to get unstuck and move forward powerfully. So, before we get to the health segment, let's just talk about some wins in your life, my life, and then let's talk about the wellness of the world, okay?
Okay.
So, what's been going well for you?
I can't remember if we talked about this already, but I really love my new exercise bike. I got a Peloton wannabe called MYX or called Mix,
Yeah.
and it's really been fun. And I wasn't sure whether I'd liked it. I'm not someone that really likes riding on a stationary bike, but it's been really fun. And there's this one particular coach on there, Sean Tubbs, and he is really inspiring and he keeps me going. And so that's been really fun.
Yeah, because you were looking for another form of moving your body, right?
Yeah, because as I've gotten older, I've been having a harder time kind of getting my heart rate up, because I'm not at that good enough shape to run, or what can I do to kind of maintain that activity? And the bike has been a great option because I'm able to get my heart rate up, get a good sweat, and it feels really good.
Yeah, and what's cool about, I think you were sharing with me, is that they have all sorts of different rides. Like you can do a 10-minute ride or a 20-minute ride.
Yeah, like yesterday I
ride.
did a 20-minute one before work, and it was 10 minutes of a hard ride and then 10 minutes of like weights and stuff. So it's been really fun.
Yeah, and you've been really consistent about it.
I have been, yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, it's been fun.
All right. Anything else? What's another win?
Well, we have a dog.
We do have a dog.
And
We got a new dog after much debate.
Like years of debate.
Yeah.
And I feel like he's added a lot of joy and fun and feeling good to the family. There's definitely been responsibility and some things that, like last night when he wouldn't go pee and it was dark and cold outside and I didn't want to be out there. But for the most part, he's just a total snuggle and a love, and so it's been really fun.
Good. Right on.
And it makes the kids happy to have a dog.
Yeah, they really enjoy it.
Yeah.
And he really enjoys the family. We were saying that this little dog is new to us, but as soon as we got him, he was 100% in, right?
Yeah.
He's just like,
they
I'm
don't
giving
go
you
in
everything.
halfway.
Yeah.
What about you?
Let's see.
What's going well for you?
Yeah, well, I would echo the dog as well. It's been a lot of fun. Definitely brings, like you said, a lot of joy and levity and variety. There's definitely, it requires effort and you have to step up and take on some more responsibility. But what I've really enjoyed about it too is learning about all the dog psychology, because I've been watching a lot of videos on dog training. In fact, we just did one on the show here, in an interview with Stephanie Vichinsky, and that has been like super
Mind-opening?
Mind-opening, yeah, because I never really thought much about dog psychology, because we had our other dog for 16 years and you just kind of know him, right? But this has been fun to like really train a dog and really think like, how is that dog perceiving its world, and then relating to him on that manner. So that's been fun.
Yeah.
I think also on the exercise topic, yeah, that's been a win for me too, getting back into it, and having a dog has also helped me be more active, because we're taking him on walks and potty breaks and hikes, and when I get out there, it's great for me because I feel connected to nature. So that's a win too.
Yeah, I think one of the things we talked about even before getting the dog was as I think I see a lot of older people, older meaning like my age and older, walking their dogs, and it is a great way to stay active. And I was able to see that weird worm phenomenon many nights in a row out on the wet lawn that I've never seen before, where there were like thousands of worms on our front lawn. We've been able to see the moon and the stars in ways where we would never go outside at 9:30 at night for no reason. So it has exposed us to some being outside in ways we haven't been before.
Yeah. The other morning when I got up early, it was just before 6, and there was like this half moon. It was just hanging over the butte, and it was just magnificent.
Yeah.
Good stuff. Well, hey, let's take a quick break and then come back, and we're going to talk about what's well in the world, and then we'll jump into the medical portion of the show.
Okay.
All right. See ya. Hey everybody, welcome back to Live It Up. So glad you're here. Thanks for joining us today. You know, we're going to talk about some medical stuff in a little bit, but first, let's talk about some things that are going well in the world, because we live in a world where there are lots of good things happening all the time.
That's true.
But there's frequently a focus on news and stuff that's not working.
Right, or the problems that need to be, solved.
And so it doesn't always feel good when we focus on just what's not working, and people forget that things are going well. And so let's talk about some things that are going well, shall we?
Good, yes, we shall.
All right.
You're up first.
I'm going to just share, we found this in a magazine, and I just thought it was beautiful and really inspiring, so I'm just going to share it. And it's called Two Souls, One Extraordinary Friendship. This is from the Christian Science Monitor, and we just find that they have really good articles in there. And it says, in 1967, a Swedish merchant marine tossed a message in a bottle off his ship, which is so cool, right?
Yeah.
He didn't know what would happen, but the message was received by a 15-year-old boy who was the son of an American diplomat living in Liberia. The boy's last name was Beaver. And so he was in West Africa. And Beaver wrote back, and the Marine gave the letter to his 14-year-old Finnish sister-in-law, who was thrilled to write the American living so far away. And then the two teenagers bonded over everything: rock and roll music, the uneasiness of the Vietnam War, their dreams for the future. And over 30 years, they continued to write. And then finally, in 2003, they met for the very first time, which is so cool. And today, they're still writing, and it's been a 50-year-long pen pal friendship.
Wow, that's neat.
Isn't that cool?
Yeah.
Because we've all heard about message in a bottle, throwing it over, but somebody actually got it.
Yeah, and then they had a relationship.
Yeah, it's
That's
like,
cool.
what are the odds of that happening, you know? And then just to hit it off with somebody, have you ever had a pen pal?
No.
No?
Have you?
I'm trying to remember if I had one in elementary school. I've
written to some soldiers over the years, and maybe I got a letter back like one time.
Yeah, I guess I probably have not. Have you ever cast a message in a bottle over
No.
No?
Have you?
I never have, but I kind of want to now.
Maybe we should now.
I know, yeah.
Okay,
What do you got?
I have the second one. This is about about energy. So Germany reported that in 2020, they produced more energy from wind, solar, and other renewables versus fossil fuels. And this was a first for their country. So wind power alone outpaced all of the energy made by the coal plants.
Wow.
So it's interesting how the energy sector and energy world is changing.
Yeah, it's really exciting. As you know, I'm a huge fan of all renewable energies and EV, so I always thought that was such a cool one.
Yeah.
And again, hopeful, feels good, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, riding on the coattails of that one, let's talk about Britain's first all-electric filling station. This is so cool because I've been waiting for this moment, actually. You know, I've told you, like, hey, we're in this revolution now of EV. There are going to be service stations, gas stations, where they're just for electric vehicles.
Are they going to be called gas stations?
Oh, fuel stations.
just called them gas
yeah, fuel
stations.
stations. Yeah.
Or filling stations.
Charging stations.
Charging stations.
Yeah. And so this one has, I think it had like 20 stations. But what's cool about it, because we've seen like the Tesla chargers and places you can charge your car, but this one is legit. You go there and charge, and it's designed so that you don't have to just stay in your vehicle. They have a little mini mart there, but they have a playground for people. They have a place where you can exercise.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, because sometimes, depending on the type of car you have, it might take an hour to charge if you're charging all the way up. So I thought that was just brilliant.
Yeah.
Like, here it is, it's happening.
Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, interesting to see how much how much electricity costs at those, because like in our country, electricity costs different amounts over the country. So you might fill it up at one place in the country, it might be really expensive, and around here it might not be.
Right. Yeah.
Anyway, it'd be interesting to see how that's regulated.
Yeah, I actually looked up for that area, and it was like, I think they said it's about $15 to charge your car.
Cool.
So.
Interesting. And then this is 14 countries, including Japan, Canada, and Australia, are pledging to restore fish populations and decrease plastic pollution in the oceans over the next 10 years. And they are looking at scientifically backed policy changes to make, because 3 billion people rely on food from oceans every day. And some researchers suggest that sustainably managed oceans could produce 6 times more food than they currently do, and about 12 million new jobs. That's something that I have not thought about before, that if the oceans were managed differently, how much more productive they could be.
Yeah. And whenever we travel, one of the things I get freaked out about is when we're flying into a big city and I look at all of these homes. One of the things I frequently think about is like, wait a second, how can there be enough food to feed all these people every single day,
Yeah.
2 or 3 meals a day. And it just blew my mind when they said 3 billion people rely on food from the ocean every single day.
Right,
That's
right.
like, whoa.
That's
so
cool.
much. So I love hearing that people are that they're bringing a higher level of attention on managing the oceans.
Yeah, keeping it healthy.
Yeah. Cool. Well, hey, are you ready to dive into some medical talk?
Sure.
All right. So today we're talking about screening.
Yeah, so there's kind of some different words for it. I mean, I kind of call it preventive services, because what's meant to happen in these is that we find something, an issue, a medical issue, we find it early enough, either to prevent a problem entirely, or something we find at a very, very early stage, and we're able to prevent someone from getting sick from that issue. And so people, we also use the term like a wellness exam or screening exams. And in the U.S., there are several different guidelines, like the American Cancer Society may have a different guideline than the Surgical College, and so there's many different guidelines. Most family doctors, like myself, use what we call USPSTF, which is a task force that reviews data every so often and comes out with a data-backed message that you can follow.
Got it.
So that's kind of what I mean.
Okay. So first question: at what age should people be going and doing these screenings? Or
well, the screenings really begin at starting even like at a well child visit. Like that's one of the things we're doing, is we're doing things that are meant to be finding a problem before it may be a problem or a big enough problem. So for example, when we do vision checks for kids, or we start checking blood pressure even at age 5, we do it even that young.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so that's really how early it is.
Okay.
I think we need to take a break real quick, and then we'll come right back.
You're right. Let's take a break. Stay with us. Hey everybody, welcome back to Live It Up. We're here, we're talking with Amy, and we're talking about medical screening tests and preventative measures to make sure we stay healthy, right?
Yeah, like preventative services.
Preventative services.
Yeah.
All right, and you were just talking about screenings.
Yeah, so starting, like I said, at the 5-year-old, we start doing blood pressure checks. And then just some examples I'm just going to throw out in case it applies to you or one of your loved ones. Like if you've never had your cholesterol checked, starting at age 35, we would check cholesterol. But you would work with your provider to know if you're at higher risk, you might want to get your cholesterol checked earlier. Say someone your mother or father had heart disease, or you knew there was high cholesterol. And then most people know about a colonoscopy, because we've all heard about that. So The current main guideline that most people are using right now is that starts at age 50, but there are some new guidelines to start that at age 45. They're finding that the age of colon cancer is becoming a little bit younger, and then also African Americans are at a higher risk of colon cancer, so they should be screened at 45. But that's a good example of, say you have colon cancer in your family and someone was diagnosed at age 45, then you obviously should get a colonoscopy sooner than that. And I was just going to throw it out there that there's a new-ish test called a Cologuard, which is a non-invasive way to do colon cancer screening for those of you who have avoided it because you don't want a colonoscopy. The colonoscopy is still the gold standard, is still what most people would recommend and what I would recommend. But if you're not willing to do that, or for some reason you feel like you can't do that, there are some other options.
Yeah.
You've already had yours.
I've already had mine.
Okay.
And you know what, the colonoscopy itself, that's no big deal, okay, because you're not even awake for it.
Yeah.
It's the prep.
I know, yeah, you were up all night.
Yeah.
So, and then,
go ahead.
Well, there's just some more before, because then if we're going to talk about men and women. So bone density screening, looking for osteoporosis, that's mainly something we do with women. So the recommendation is for all women starting at the age 65, but for women with certain risk factors, we definitely want to start early. And women definitely are better about going to the doctor than men. I'm not sure if that's just because maybe they're used to coming in for birth control or for getting pap smears or something. So it's something that you should just talk to your provider about.
I have a quick question about the bone density.
Yes.
You said that's mostly for women?
Yeah.
Why is that the case and not for men?
Well, because men don't stop making testosterone, which also leads to estrogen in their body. So men maintain their testosterone and estrogen levels throughout their life, most men, and so their bone density doesn't drop off unless they're like overuse alcohol, smoke, or have been on prednisone, other things. Where women, our ovaries stop making our estrogen and testosterone when we go through menopause. So that's why I say the average age of menopause is 52. That's why we start screening in your 60s, because all of a sudden those hormones that maintained bone strength and like normal bone, like the structure of it, go away for women.
Those are the kind of facts I like. I like that, yeah.
Okay. The one last thing is that there is, over the last couple of years, more than a couple, they found that it was worthwhile to do low-dose chest CT on smokers or people who have quit smoking in the last 15 years. So for the guidelines say people between the ages of 50 and 80, if you've had a 30-pack year history of smoking, some groups say 20, but the main one that insurance pays for, if you've had a 30-pack year history, then you can get a CT scan done every year to look for lung cancer. Because if it's found, the whole premise is if it's found small enough, then you can actually just have a resection of that, and then you can be cured.
Okay.
Yeah.
So let's talk about the differences between men and women's screenings. What are they looking for when it comes to men?
Yeah, so there's really just two unique tests that men have that women don't have, and one is a PSA testing, which is a prostate, which is a marker in the blood that is related to the prostate gland, and it's used to screen for prostate cancer. There's been a lot of hoopla, maybe most people don't know about it, but in the medical world about whether a PSA is worth doing or not, because a PSA can be elevated when the prostate is enlarged, it can be elevated when the prostate is inflamed, and then if it's elevated and you're like, oh my gosh, you might have cancer, then a man has to undergo a prostate biopsy, which is an invasive procedure, or have surgery. So there's been a lot of conflicting guidelines on that, but for men that are not at an increased risk, meaning they do not have prostate cancer in their family, usually around age 50 would be a time to start talking to your doctor about that. And it's a simple blood test. I do perform it on men if they are interested in having it, as long as they know that they may then have to have a biopsy that leads to nothing. And then we usually stop screening at age 70.
Okay.
For men.
And I'm going to show my real ignorance here about my own health. Have I had that test?
You have not had a PSA test.
Okay.
But you're just right above 50. So I don't know when you went for your last kind of, this is what you would do at like your annual visit. I don't know if you guys talked about it or not, because
okay.
I wasn't there with you.
Got it.
But we'll put it on the list for next year.
Okay.
And then the only other thing is that for Medicare-aged men, starting at age 65, if a man has ever smoked, they qualify for an ultrasound of their abdominal aorta to look for an abdominal aortic aneurysm.
Okay. Good to know. Good to know.
Yeah.
All right. What about women?
For women.
Yeah.
So the unique testing for women is breast and cervical cancer screening. So cervical cancer is screened by a pap smear, which most people have heard about. And we start those now at age 21, and women age 21 to 30 get one every 3 years, as long as they haven't had an abnormal. And then once you're over 30, you can get it done every 5 years. And then we usually stop at age 65. And this is a test that a lot of women used to get starting at age 18 or even younger, and we did them every year. But we've learned a lot about cervical cancer, and we understand that it's caused by the HPV virus. And so we now know that we don't have to keep screening, and we don't have to screen all the time, and we don't screen women that are younger than 21.
Okay.
And then mammograms are done for breast cancer screening, as people probably know. There's also a bit of conflicting information on the guidelines about this one. The USPSTF actually doesn't recommend any screening until age 50, and then they recommend it every other year. But the American the Gynecology Organization, they recommend starting at age 40 and doing it annually. And most groups advise stopping when a woman's life expectancy is going to be less than 10 years. So what I tell women is say they're 79 and they're super healthy and they'd be willing to have a surgery for breast cancer, well then get the mammogram. So what I usually tell my patients is in your 40s, I talk to women about mammograms, and if they want to get them every year, fine. If they want to do them every other year, if they're not high risk. But then definitely at age 50, I recommend every year.
Okay.
So that's for breast cancer screening, because the point of a mammogram is to find something before you can even feel it. So it's tiny, and then you could just have surgery and not have to undergo the other more invasive treatments.
Got it. You know, and this is a lot of information.
It is a lot of information.
But really, I mean, you at home, you're listening to this, the point of this is if there's just one thing that's like, oh, that reminds me, I should do that, or oh, I'm in that age bracket, I should pay attention to that.
Yeah, I mean, I think that the bottom line is you should go, like I think one of your questions on here is you don't go to the doctor very often, but you know, I think if you're someone who doesn't have any prescriptions that you need, well, then you should probably check in with your doctor like every 2 or 3 years and get your blood pressure checked, see if there's anything that you're due for. And I think it's always a good question, because sometimes I have patients come in and they have a long list of concerns and questions, and like, my toe hurts and my back hurts, and then you never get around to these preventive screenings that are available. So I think it's a good question to ask the doctor is like, what am I due for? What preventive services am I due for? And then it helps kind of get that as part of the conversation, even if they need to come back for another visit.
That's a really helpful question. Like, what should I be checking for? What should we be talking about?
Yeah, and then even like your family history. We usually care mostly about what's in your immediate family, your parents, brothers, or sisters. If there is a condition that you know that someone had at a young age or died from that might be hereditary, then please bring that up with your provider.
All right, we just have 30 seconds left.
Okay.
So, last question.
Yes.
Does insurance usually cover these types of
Yes,
screenings?
insurance is really good at covering preventive services nowadays. They didn't used to be, like 10 years ago, they didn't used to be, but they do now. They've kind of changed from being like a sick pay model to they're definitely paying for wellness services.
Got it.
Yeah.
All right. Thanks for all that.
Yeah, you're welcome.
All right. Well, hey, that's all the time we have for. So thanks for tuning in with us. And you know what it's time to do now. It's time to get out there, be a source of kindness, be a source of contribution. You do have something to offer this world, and we believe in you.